The conference room sits on the 57th floor of a steel and glass tower in downtown Chicago. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, Lake Michigan stretches out like a sheet of hammered silver under the midday sun. Inside, the air conditioning hums at a steady 68 degrees. The carpet is thick, cream-colored, expensive, the kind that swallows footsteps. At the head of a mahogany table sits Victor Harrington, 73 years old. Net worth, somewhere north of $4 billion. He made his fortune in commercial real estate, shopping centers, hotel chains, office complexes across the Midwest. His suit is charcoal gray, tailored in London. His watch is Swiss, vintage, worth more than most people's cars. His face is lined, not from hardship, but from decades of concentration. From making decisions that moved markets and shifted city skylines. Across from him, 17 lawyers, executives, and accountants sit in leather chairs, waiting for him to speak, waiting for him to make the next move in a game he's been playing for 50 years. Victor's hands rest flat on the table. The document in front of him is 147 pages long. Single-spaced. Legal language so dense it reads like a foreign tongue. It's the final draft of a merger agreement, a deal that will consolidate 3 of his largest holding companies into one entity, a deal that will save him nearly $200 million in taxes over the next decade, a deal that will secure his empire for the next generation. But there's a problem. Victor can't read it, not because the print is too small, not because the language is too technical. He can't read it because he never learned how. Not really. Not beyond the basics. He dropped out of school at 14 to work construction with his uncle. By 16, he was running crews. By 25, he owned the company. By 30, he'd leveraged that company into his first real estate deal. By 40, he was a millionaire. By 50, a billionaire. And all of it built on a secret he's kept for nearly 60 years. Victor Harrington cannot read above a third-grade level. He's hidden it well. He's surrounded himself with people who read for him, assistants who summarize, lawyers who explain, accountants who simplify. He's memorized scripts for speeches. He's learned to nod at the right moments, to ask vague questions that sound insightful, to sign documents his team has already vetted. He's built an empire on delegation, on trust, on the careful construction of an image. But today, something's different. Today, his lead attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Margaret Chen, leans forward and says, "Victor, before we move forward, I need you to personally verify Clause 17, subsection D. It's critical. If there's any misunderstanding, it could cost us the deal." Victor's jaw tightens. He glances down at the page. The words blur into shapes, letters that might as well be symbols. He feels the eyes of 17 people on him, feels the weight of the moment, feels the old, familiar panic rising in his chest. He clears his throat. "Margaret, I trust your judgment. If you've reviewed it—" "I have," she interrupts gently. "But the SEC requires your personal acknowledgement. You need to read it and confirm you understand it. It's non-negotiable." The room goes quiet. Someone coughs. A phone buzzes on silent mode, vibrating against the table. Outside, a gull passes the window, wings spread wide against the sun. Victor's heart pounds. He's been in tougher spots. He's negotiated with union bosses, faced down city councils, stared across tables at men who wanted to ruin him. But this small, simple request terrifies him. He looks up. His voice is calm, controlled. "I need a moment." He stands. The room waits. He walks to the window, hands clasped behind his back, staring out at the city he helped build. His city, his empire. And for the first time in decades, he feels small. Because he knows the truth. No amount of money, no amount of power can hide the fact that he can't do what a child can do. He can't read. Before we go deeper into this story, take a second and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like and let us know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know how far these stories travel. Victor turns from the window. His face is composed, but his mind is racing. He's built a career on improvisation, on finding ways around obstacles. He's done it before. He'll do it again. "Margaret," he says slowly, "I need to make a call. Personal matter. Give me 10 minutes. She nods. The room begins to shuffle papers, check phones. Victor walks out, his stride steady, purposeful. He steps into the hallway where the walls are hung with abstract art worth 6 figures each. He pulls out his phone and dials his executive assistant, a man named Paul Drummond, who's been with him for 22 years. "Paul," Victor says quietly, "I need someone who can read. Someone discreet. Someone who can come to the office right now and help me with a document." There's a pause on the other end. Paul knows. He's always known. "I'll find someone," he says. "Give me 15 minutes. Victor hangs up. He stands in the hallway, alone. Through the glass walls of nearby offices, he can see people working, typing, talking, reading, all of them doing something he can't. He thinks back to his childhood, to a cramped apartment in South Bend, Indiana, to a father who worked the steel mills and came home too tired to talk, to a mother who cleaned houses and spoke broken English, to a school system that didn't care if a poor kid from the wrong side of town fell through the cracks. He'd struggled with letters, with sounds. The other kids caught on quickly. He didn't. Teachers moved on. He fell behind. And then, one day, he just stopped going. No one came looking for him. He learned to survive instead. Learned to read people, to read situations. Learned that money talks louder than diplomas. Learned that power can buy almost anything. Almost. Paul calls back. "I've got someone. She's a graduate student. Works part-time at a legal aid clinic downtown. She's done document review before. She'll be there in 20 minutes. "Good," Victor says. "Send her straight up." He returns to the conference room. "Something's come up," he tells the group. "We'll resume in 30 minutes. 28 minutes later, the receptionist calls. "Mr. Harrington, there's a young woman here to see you. Says Paul sent her. Send her to my office." Victor's private office is at the corner of the floor. Walnut desk, leather chairs, a view that spans 3 miles of shoreline. He stands by the window waiting. The door opens, and in walks a young black woman, maybe 23 years old. She's wearing jeans, a simple white blouse, and a canvas backpack slung over one shoulder. Her hair is pulled back in a neat bun. Her eyes are sharp, curious, taking in the room with a calm intelligence. "Mr. Harrington," she says. Her voice is clear, confident. "I'm Shayla Bennett. Paul said you needed help with a document." Victor nods. He gestures to a chair. "Sit." She does. She pulls out a notebook and a pen, ready. Victor sits across from her. He studies her for a moment. She doesn't flinch, doesn't look away. There's something steady about her, something unbothered by the wealth on display. "I need you to read something for me," he says. "It's a legal contract, 147 pages. I need you to read it, explain it to me in plain language, and help me understand what I'm signing." Shayla tilts her head slightly. "You need me to summarize it?" "No," Victor says. "I need you to read it to me, out loud, and explain each section as we go." She pauses. Her eyes flicker with understanding. She doesn't ask why, doesn't make assumptions. She just nods. "Okay, I can do that." Victor slides the document across the desk. "There's one more thing," he says. His voice drops, becomes quieter. "This stays between us. You don't mention this to anyone. Not Paul, not your friends, not your professors. No one. Shayla meets his gaze. I understand. I'll pay you, Victor says. Name your price. Shayla blinks. She glances down at the document, then back at him. I don't need... Name your price. She thinks for a moment. Then slowly she says, I'm a grad student. I've got loans, rent. I could use help, but I don't want to take advantage. $5 million, Victor says. The room goes silent. Shayla's mouth opens slightly. She stares at him. I'm sorry. What? $5 million, Victor repeats, his voice steady. You read this document. You help me understand it. You keep it confidential. And I'll transfer $5 million into an account of your choosing within 48 hours. Shayla's hands grip the edge of the desk. Her breathing quickens. Mr. Harrington, I don't understand. It's what I'm offering, Victor says. Take it or leave it. She looks down at the document. Her mind is spinning. $5 million. For reading. For doing what she's done 1,000 times in law school. For something so simple it feels absurd. But then she looks up at him, really looks at him, and she sees something in his eyes. Something vulnerable. Something desperate. This isn't about the money. This is about dignity. Okay, she says quietly. I'll do it. Victor exhales. He didn't realize he was holding his breath. Good. We start now. Shayla opens the document. The first page is dense. Definitions, legal entities, jurisdictional clauses. She begins to read aloud, her voice steady and clear. This agreement, dated as of the 14th day of September, 2025, is entered into by and between Harrington Holdings, LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, hereinafter referred to as Party A, and Midland Capital Group, a Nevada Corporation, hereinafter referred to as Party B. She pauses, looks up. In plain terms, this is saying that your company, Harrington Holdings, and another company called Midland Capital are entering into a legal agreement. The date is September 14th, and both companies are registered in specific states, Delaware and Nevada, which affects which laws apply. Victor nods slowly. Go on, she continues, page after page, clause after clause. She reads the legal jargon, then translates it into language he can understand. She explains asset transfers, liability clauses, indemnification agreements. She breaks down tax implications, regulatory compliance, escrow arrangements. Victor listens. He asks questions. She answers. Sometimes she rereads sections. Sometimes she sketches diagrams on her notebook to illustrate complex structures. Sometimes she just pauses and says, This part is saying you're protected if something goes wrong here, but you're also agreeing to take responsibility for this other thing. Hours pass. The sun moves across the sky. The lake outside shifts from silver to gold to deep blue. Neither of them notice. By the time they reach page 147, it's almost 7 in the evening. The office beyond Victor's door is empty. The cleaning crew has started their rounds. The city lights have begun to glow. Shayla closes the document. She leans back in her chair, exhausted. That's it, she says. That's the whole thing. Victor sits back. His face is unreadable. He's spent 5 hours listening to a stranger read to him. 5 hours confronting a shame he's carried since childhood. 5 hours being vulnerable in a way he's never allowed himself to be. And something has shifted. He looks at Shayla. You didn't ask, he says quietly. She looks up. Ask what? Why I needed you to read it. Why a billionaire can't read his own contracts. Shayla's quiet for a moment. Then she says, It's not my business. Maybe it should be. She meets his eyes. Everyone has something they can't do, Mr. Harrington. Something they're ashamed of. Something they hide. You're not special in that. Victor's expression softens, just a fraction. "You're young," he says. "You don't know what it's like to live a lie for 60 years. "No," Shayla says, "but I know what it's like to feel like you don't belong somewhere. To feel like everyone around you can do something you can't. To feel like if people knew the truth, they'd stop respecting you." Victor tilts his head. "What do you mean?" Shayla hesitates. Then she says, "I'm the first person in my family to go to college. My mom works 3 jobs. My dad's been in and out of prison since I was 6. I got into law school on a full scholarship, and every day I walk into class, I feel like someone's going to figure out I don't belong there, that I'm not as smart as them, that I'm just pretending." She looks down at her hands. "So I work harder. I study more. I make sure no one can question whether I deserve to be there. And I hide the parts of me that don't fit their idea of what a law student should be." Victor is silent. He's never thought about it that way. Never considered that someone like her, brilliant, articulate, confident, might feel the same fear he does. "You're good at hiding it," he says. "So are you," Shayla replies. "Before we continue, take a second and share your thoughts so far on this story below. I read every single one." Victor stands. He walks to the window. The city sprawls below him, a grid of lights and steel. "I built all of this," he says quietly. "Every building, every deal, every dollar. I built it because I wanted to prove I was worth something, that I mattered, that I didn't need what other people had." He turns to face her. "But the truth is, I've spent my whole life afraid. Afraid someone would find out. Afraid it would all fall apart." Shayla stands as well. She walks over to the window, standing, beside him. "It doesn't have to," she says. "You've already proven you're worth something. This," she gestures to the city, "this proves it." "No," Victor says. "This proves I'm good at making money. It doesn't prove I'm good at being human." Shayla looks at him. "Then maybe it's time to learn." Victor turns to her. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Shayla says carefully, "that you just spent 5 hours listening. Really listening. You asked questions. You didn't pretend to understand when you didn't. You were honest. That's more human than most people ever manage to be." Victor's jaw tightens. "I paid you $5 million to keep a secret." "You paid me to help you," Shayla corrects. "There's a difference." Victor is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, "I want to learn." Shayla blinks. "Learn what?" "To read," Victor says. "Really read. Not just survive. Not just fake it. I want to sit down with a book and understand it. I want to read a letter from my granddaughter without needing someone to explain it. I want to stop being afraid." Shayla's expression softens. That's a big step." "I'm 73 years old," Victor says. "I don't have time for small steps." Shayla smiles, just a little. "Okay," she says, "I'll help you." "I'll pay you." "No," Shayla interrupts. "You already paid me. This is different." Victor frowns. "Why would you do this?" Shayla thinks for a moment, then she says, "Because I think you deserve a chance to stop hiding, and because I think you'd do the same for someone else if you could." Victor studies her, then slowly he nods. "When do we start?" "Tomorrow," Shayla says. 6 a.m., your office. Bring a notebook." The next morning, Victor arrives at his office at 5:45. He hasn't been this nervous in decades. He's negotiated billion-dollar deals, faced hostile takeovers, stared down regulators and rivals. But the idea of sitting down with a book, of confronting the thing he's avoided his entire life, makes his hands shake. Shayla arrives at 6 sharp. She's carrying a canvas tote bag. She sets it on the desk and pulls out 3 books. One is a children's picture book. One is a young adult novel. One is a collection of short stories. Victor stares at them. You're joking. I'm not, Shayla says. You said you read at a third-grade level. That means we start with third-grade books. Victor's pride flares. I'm a billionaire. I'm not reading about talking animals. Shayla doesn't blink. Then you're not serious about learning. Victor glares at her. She glares back. Neither moves. Finally, Victor sits down. Fine. Shayla opens the picture book. It's about a mouse who wants to build a house. The words are simple. The illustrations are bright. Victor feels ridiculous. But he reads, slowly, haltingly, sounding out words he doesn't recognize, asking Shayla for help when he gets stuck. And she helps, patiently, without judgment, without pity. They work for 2 hours. By the end, Victor has read 15 pages. It's exhausting. His head hurts, but he's done it. Shayla closes the book. Good, she says. Tomorrow we do 20 pages. Victor looks at her. This is going to take years. Probably, Shayla says. But you've got the time, and you've got the motivation. What makes you so sure? Shayla smiles. Because you didn't quit today, and you won't quit tomorrow. Over the next 6 months, they meet every morning. 6 a.m. Victor's office, 2 hours, no interruptions, no excuses. Victor reads children's books, then middle-grade novels, then young adult fiction. Shayla teaches him phonics, vocabulary, comprehension strategies. She assigns homework. She quizzes him. She pushes him. And Victor learns. It's slow. It's frustrating. There are days when he wants to throw the book across the room. Days when he feels like a child again, stupid and small. But Shayla doesn't let him quit. She reminds him why he started. She reminds him of the feeling he had when he couldn't read that contract, the fear, the shame, and slowly the fear fades. By month 3, Victor's reading at a 6th grade level. By month 5, he's reading newspapers. By month 6, he picks up a novel, a real novel, 400 pages, and reads it cover to cover in a week. When he finishes, he calls Shayla. I did it, he says. His voice is thick with emotion. I read the whole thing. On the other end of the line, Shayla's voice is warm. I'm proud of you. Victor's throat tightens. No one has said that to him in 60 years. If you were in Victor's position, hiding something you were ashamed of for decades, what would it take for you to finally face it? Share your thoughts in the comments. 1 year after Shayla first walked into his office, Victor calls a meeting. The same conference room. The same 17 lawyers, executives, and accountants. The same cream-colored carpet and floor-to-ceiling windows. But this time, something is different. Victor stands at the head of the table. In front of him is a document, 203 pages, a new merger agreement, even bigger than the last one. Margaret Chen leans forward. Victor, before we proceed, I need you to verify. I know, Victor interrupts. He picks up the document. I'll read it. The room goes silent. Victor opens to the first page, and he begins to read. Out loud, slowly, carefully, but clearly. This agreement, dated as of the 21st day of March 2026, is entered into by and between Harrington Holdings, LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, and North Point Development Corporation, a Texas corporation. He reads for 10 minutes, summarizes key points, asks clarifying questions, engages with the content in a way he never could before. When he finishes, he looks up. The room is staring at him. Some faces show confusion. Some show surprise. Margaret Chen is smiling. Any questions? Victor asks. No one speaks. Victor sets the document down. Good. Let's move forward. The meeting continues. Decisions are made. The deal moves ahead. And for the first time in his life, Victor Harrington feels like he's not hiding. After the meeting, Victor returns to his office. He opens his desk drawer and pulls out an envelope. Inside is a handwritten letter. It's from his granddaughter, Emma. She's 12 years old. She wrote to him about her school play, her friends, her dreams. He reads it slowly, every word, every sentence. And when he finishes, tears are streaming down his face. He picks up his phone and calls Shayla. "Thank you," he says when she answers. "For what?" Shayla asks. "For giving me my life back." Shayla's quiet for a moment, then she says, "You did that yourself, Mr. Harrington. I just showed you how." 3 months later, Victor makes an announcement. He's establishing a foundation, the Harrington Literacy Project. Its mission: to provide free literacy tutoring to adults who never learned to read, to fund adult education programs across the Midwest, to remove the shame and stigma that keeps people in the shadows. At the press conference, Victor stands at a podium in a hotel ballroom in downtown Chicago. Reporters and cameras fill the room. And for the first time in his life, Victor Harrington tells the truth. "I'm 74 years old," he begins. His voice is steady. "And until a year ago, I couldn't read." The room erupts. Cameras flash. Reporters shout questions. But Victor raises his hand, and the room quiets. "I built a $4 billion empire," he continues. "I employed thousands of people. I shaped skylines in 3 states. And I did all of it while hiding a secret that terrified me every single day." He pauses, looks out at the crowd. "I'm not proud of that. But I'm also not ashamed anymore, because I've learned something over the past year. I've learned that it's never too late to change. It's never too late to admit you need help, and it's never too late to become the person you were always meant to be." He gestures to the side of the stage. Shayla Bennett steps forward. She's wearing a simple black dress. Her hair is down. She looks nervous but proud. "This young woman," Victor says, "changed my life. She didn't judge me. She didn't pity me. She just helped me. And now I want to help others the way she helped me." The crowd applauds. Shayla's eyes are wet. Victor extends his hand, and she shakes it. And in that moment, in front of cameras and strangers, 2 people from completely different worlds stand together, united by something simple: the power of words. 6 months later, the Harrington Literacy Project has opened 12 tutoring centers across Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Thousands of adults have enrolled. Many are immigrants learning English for the first time. Some are older Americans who fell through the cracks of the education system. Some are people like Victor, successful on the outside, struggling in. Silence. Shayla Bennett runs the program. She's deferred law school to focus on the foundation. Victor pays her a salary that reflects the value of her work. They meet every week to review progress, to discuss expansion plans, to dream bigger. And every morning at 6 a.m., Victor still reads. He's working through the classics now. Hemingway, Steinbeck, Baldwin. He reads slowly, but he reads. And when he finishes a book, he writes a letter to Emma, in his own hand, in his own words. Because now he can. Before we go deeper, I would love to hear your point of view. Tell me what part hit you the hardest in this story, and share your thoughts in the comments. This is a story about power and vulnerability, about wealth and worth, about the things we hide and the courage it takes to reveal them. Victor Harrington spent 60 years building walls made of money, of influence, of carefully constructed images. He believed those walls protected him, but in the end, they only isolated him. It took a 23-year-old graduate student to show him that true strength isn't about hiding who you are. It's about having the courage to ask for help, to admit you don't know, to sit down with a children's book and sound out the words, even when it feels humiliating. Shayla could have judged him, could have used his secret against him, could have taken the money and walked away. But she didn't. She saw a human being in pain, and she chose kindness. That's the heart of this story. Not the $5 million, not the empire, not the grand gesture of the foundation. It's the quiet choice Shayla made in that office on the 57th floor. The choice to see Victor not as a billionaire, but as a person. To offer him dignity when he felt he had none left. And in return, Victor gave her something too. He gave her proof that change is possible, that people can grow, no matter how old they are or how long they've been hiding. That vulnerability isn't named weakness. It's the beginning of transformation. Today, Victor Harrington is 75 years old. He still runs his company, still makes deals, still shapes the skyline of the city he loves. But now, when he signs a contract, he reads it first. When his granddaughter writes to him, he reads her letters without help. And when he looks in the mirror, he sees someone he's finally proud of. Not because he's rich, but because he's free. If this story moved you, if Victor's journey or Shayla's compassion struck a chord, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment below telling me what you think, and subscribe to Justice Tales. These stories matter, and I want to keep sharing them with people like you who care about justice, redemption, and the power of human connection. Where are you watching from? What part of this story will stay with you? Let me know. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, share it with them. Sometimes the stories we need most are the ones we least expect. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next one.